Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome back to the big show. DNC continues today. Day one was yesterday. Day two is already underway. The big headliners tonight, Barack and Michelle Obama are expected to speak. Tim Walz is the big headliner on Wednesday, and then Thursday, the final night, Kamala Harris. Back on the James Show now, Donald Kimball. Hey, welcome back to the James Show, number one. First off, did you watch much of the DNC last night, Donald?
I wasn't able to catch much of it live, but I went through. I was scanning the highlights, what you could call highlights, I suppose, and keeping an eye on Twitter for the latest news. Right.
And look, I've got some sound bites from the speeches and whatnot, but the speeches aren't going to be what's consequential from these first couple of days. I think the real takeaway could be the behavior of the protesters. And as long as they can behave well, they're going to avoid negative press. And that's what they need, is protesters behaving right now.
Yeah, it is interesting to note that when we talk about, political violence, there is one side that does like to lament, January 6th, or all these things where there was trying to be a coup, a literal coup. But when you see the actual people of their side gathering in large quantities for protests, you see small businesses boarding their windows. It's kind of telling that when it comes to actual reality, there tends to be one side that maybe seems to favor political violence a little bit more. But like you said, if they can behave, and if the protesters can end up not causing a scene, that will count as a win, as funny as it is to say.
Well, it'll be a win streak now for Team Blue. They got a little bit of a bump when Biden stepped down and Kamala was the presumed candidate. They got a little bit of a bump when Tim Walz was announced. And if they can get a little bit of a bump here from the convention just in quick succession, they're actually setting themselves up to be in the lead going into the home stretch.
It's true. There will be a few things that will really play heavily. And I think the debates is the big thing that everyone's going to be looking at, right? Because, of course, the media propped up Biden leading into this race. Of course, the moment that got by them was the debate. They couldn't cover for that. And so the question is, are they preparing Kamala enough to cover for that? The other question is, it seems like every week, whether or not it's successful, there seems to be an effort to show the blatant lies that, in particular, Governor Walz finds himself in the midst of. Obviously, there's his military record, which they have been hitting somewhat hard, which, is maybe one piece that people don't care about. But then you also see this, I don't know if you saw the online video of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz trying to sit down and have food together. And there was this whole bit about how, Tim Walz can't handle any spice because pepper is the highest heat of any spice level for
white guy tacos is what he called it. They're like regular tacos, but when you put white in front of it, it sucks now. So
right. And then you go back 2 years ago on his Twitter timeline and he posted how he'd won a competition for making hot tacos that had spices in them. So it's
shut up. I did not. Donald, send me that. Aren't we on X together? Aren't we friends on X? Send me that.
Yes, I will find that and send that to you. And then, of course, the latest thing now is they're talking about IVF. And he made the remark that, if J.D. Vance had his way, I wouldn't have a family. Completely misrepresenting his struggles with infertility. His wife did not actually do IVF, but he's saying it to gain sympathy. And so there's this repeated pattern of him being a liar. And I think if they can capitalize on the deception there, that might undermine some of his credibility and then get Kamala in front of, a public audience without a teleprompter, and maybe you can undermine hers.
Yeah, well, I don't know, Donald. There's a cute picture of him with the baby pig, and he's smiling, and he has great dad energy. So, who cares if he lies about everything from peppers to babies?
Well, the other thing is that photos of J.D. Vance are popping up because, of course, he's a millennial, and so he's one of the first sort of high-profile, prominent millennials in political power. And so we're introducing to the age of the internet where photos and things are surviving. And there was a photo of him at a school, I think, in a male restroom with 3 girls, and they were all pretending to use urinals. And they're saying, this is so weird. But I think that comes across as, no, this is normal. Like, this is people highlighting things that are goofy and ridiculous that they would do in high school. I don't know how well that's going to work.
Thinking women can unironically use the urinal. That's weird.
Yes. Exactly.
All right. Hey, listen.
I don't get how that's weird, but yeah.
You know, we've had plenty of baby boomer presidents, starting with Bill Clinton. He was the first baby boomer president. Joe Biden's actually pre-baby boomer, so we went back to like the greatest generation. Same thing with old Trumpy Poo here. And then we haven't had a Gen Xer. We haven't had a Gen Xer on the ticket or anything, and it's just going to skip over to the millennials. We don't get it on anybody's ticket. We're just going straight from the boomers to the millennials. I see Gen X lost in the shuffle again. Thank you very much.
I was going to say that's your trademark.
Right. That's right on brand for us. How do they find you outside of the James Show, Donald?
Follow me on Kimball Donald on X or KimballDonald.com.
All right. Show me that pepper thing.
I'll send it your way for sure.
Thank you, Donald. All right. Thank you very much for people hanging on. If you got comments, 800-288-9227. Stacy in Cleburne, you're next up on WBAP. What do you think, Stacy?
Well, I wanted to comment on what your previous caller was talking about, like how can conservative Christians question Democrats who vote, for Democrats. And so I think that our argument comes from, we believe in life. And when you can consider aborting a baby all the way to the point of death, that's the question that we have. How can you be a Christian and support those things that, if we believe the Bible, that we know God is so against? And when he tells us that we're fearfully and wonderfully made, and we have little children that are, mutilating themselves for life with these transgender surgeries, it's like those are the things that I think that we stand so strongly on. So it just was really startling to me for him to be a pastor and not stand on those kind of things. That was my question.
Look, the Bible isn't real specific on abortion. It does stress the general concept of, the meaning of life and the value of life and every life. And before you were born, I knew you. But it's also before you conceived, I knew you. It's also all the kids that hadn't been born yet and won't be born for 1,000 years. He already knows them too. So, without the Bible come out and saying specifically, I'm against abortion, I think there is a little bit of gray area for Christians who maybe, they don't like abortion themselves, but whether or not you want to make it legal or illegal is a different story. Just like Christians don't really believe in divorce. However, we don't think divorce should be illegal. So not everything that's moral or immoral should be legal or illegal, even from the point of view of a Christian. And so I still
say, in Psalms 123, it says, children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him. So when we look at it from God's perspective, when you hear that message, it's like it's very different from what the world tells us. And I mean, if you look back in Deuteronomy, it says, this day I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life so that you and your children may live and that you may love the Lord your God. And God also says that the sacrifice of children is something that he's never commanded, nor that it's ever entered his mind.
Well, he commanded Abraham to do it to Isaac. And look, none of these are speaking generally about abortion, but I can see how they would be interpreted as being, generally speaking, anti-abortion. But listen, you got to leave a little room for gray area, or you're just going to push these people away. And look, without an explicit verse where God says, terminating a pregnancy before its full term is condemned. Dude, don't be.
I just gave you 3 examples. I mean, when we truly believe our Bible,
that was the general philosophical ethereal concept of being pro-life. It didn't say anything about abortion. It didn't, and that's okay.
When you say choose life over death, blessings and curses, I mean, I've worked in the pro-life ministry before, and I've seen the heartache and devastation of abortion.
Okay,
depression,
but also that's a verse that was used by the Catholic Church to condemn doing that without procreation in mind. Or, if you were just going to do that and spill your seed on the bed, is the way it's written in the Bible, that used to be used to condemn non-procreative sex. So just recreational sex could be condemned by those verses.
Well, I mean, when God says be fruitful and multiply, I mean, we could just go on there. But I guess I'm just saying that when we truly stand on the Bible, that's why we have such a difficult time with it. No,
we have such a difficult time because half the country doesn't stand on the Bible. So when you use that as your source material to try and win over a political convert, it's never going to work. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, pragmatically speaking, as a matter of utility, that's not going to work. That's not going to help the cause. 800-288-9227. It's the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. The Democrat National Convention continues for day 2 tonight. Michelle and Barack Obama are the two featured headliners. And one of the big storylines is the protesters outside. I don't understand why they protest their own side, but here we are, we're doing it. I do enjoy the bits where some guy goes down with the microphone just to talk to some of the protesters outside the DNC, because some of them are a little unhinged. I'm sure most protesters are nice, cool, calm, and collected, but I enjoy getting the audio from the ones that are, it's like, I think you were mad or you were upset before this guy showed up. You were already a little agitated here. So she's got a sign. Of course, she looks the part. She has her hair dyed. She has weird piercings. She has funky clothes on. And she has some sort of sign about socialism being good.
Are your hats free?
Oh, yeah. And they're wearing the, you know what hats, the pink hats.
Are your hats free?
No.
They're not?
No.
I thought you supported socialism, free everything.
Walk away.
Why do you call it a hat?
No. What is this like? I thought you supported socialism. I also support surviving in a country where I don't have health care. Get the out of my face, you freak!
Please don't scream at me. I haven't raised my voice.
I don't care if you didn't raise your voice. It doesn't make you sound like any less of a misogynist. Get the out of my face!
That was kind of scary.
Yeah, you should be scared. You should be scared because you're a piece of How about you talk to your doctor about your health problems and leave my health problems with me and my doctor and get the government out of it? And who's your stranger? Stranger? You want to look at my get the out of here!
I never said I wanted to look at her, but
all of you like white supremacist people think you just talk calmly, you seem normal. Why are we upset? Because you're psycho.
I can't talk with her. She just screamed.
All right, so I don't play that just to make fun of a woman getting upset. You just saw her explain to you. Now, she didn't do it directly. She did it indirectly. How she can support a party with economic programs that look just like socialism, with people in the party who say they're socialists, with people in the party who actually don't even hide it. Like Bernie Sanders says he's a socialist. AOC says she's a socialist. And then you look over the 20th century, people saying these things, following these ideologies, following, Marx and socialism and different flavors of Team Blue. They murdered 100 million of their own citizens in the 20th century, and it doesn't bother her. All she's worried about is abortion. She says, well, why don't you, keep your nose out of my healthcare decisions? There's only two healthcare decisions they care about: abortion and maybe sterilizing underage kids. Other than that, they don't want you to mind your own business. You can't even pick out your own straw. No, she told you why. It doesn't matter what Trump does, what Trump says. It doesn't matter even if they put someone else in for Trump, that like Mitt Romney. They're going to be called horrible names. They're going to be fought against viciously, emotionally, loudly, and it's all over abortion. That's it. That's the only thing that is driving her vote. So you can try all these other things, but unless you're going to get on the abortion train, or maybe get off the abortion train, get on the abortion train, you're not going to win that girl over for nothing. To the phones we go. Jermaine in Dallas, you're next up on WBAP. What do you think, Jermaine?
Hey, I didn't have a problem with Mitt Romney. I thought he was a gentleman. I thought he was articulate. My question is, why does everybody defend Trump when he should be out there showing the difference in his policies? He's ranting and raving over being Hannibal Lecter wanting to eat someone or talking about sharks. Obviously, this guy is impaired, and you're obviously a very intelligent individual. I've listened to you, and I listen to the way you break down conversations, just as you dealt with that evangelical just now. You're articulate. You certainly get it. But what is it? Why does everybody defend Trump? He's not fit.
Well, can I answer this first part? I feel like you have a second point coming up.
Absolutely.
So I can see why you would come away with that takeaway. All he does is just harp on her, Hannibal Lecter's type stuff, or being a woman or being black. The people who love Trump, the people who sat down and they listened to all 2 hours of him talking to Elon Musk, they listened to all 90 minutes of him talking to the media, just fielding questions last week. If you watch just those two events, you got 3.5 hours of Donald Trump speaking off the top of his head. not prepared remarks, and nothing scripted here. And so you got a good sense of what he is about and what he's for. And the parts of there where he talked about race or gender were a small minority of the time that he spent talking. So people who actually indulge themselves and watch long form Trump interviews do not walk away with the impression that he's all ate up with gender and race and that's all he's focusing on, and he doesn't cover the actual policies and the platforms. The people who spend a lot of time watching him, they get inundated with that. The problem is, if you are an anti-Trump media platform, you're just watching that whole 2 hours to wait for the thing that makes him look the worst, and you're going to take the 30 seconds that make him look as bad as possible, and that's all you're going to play. And you're going to play it on the loop for the entire news cycle until he says something else that you can put up there that makes him look bad. That way, when you go and you look at the review of the coverage of him, like if you go to newsbusters.com or the Media Research Center, 96% of the coverage in the major networks on Donald Trump is negative. Well, that's on purpose. They're purposefully pulling those out just so people like you can come away with the impression that all he cares about is race and gender and saying crazy things, and instead of dealing with actual policies and platforms. Their propaganda is working on you.
Well, no, realistically, I watch it all, and I see he's quick on his feet. He's a salesman, clearly. But when they ask him about a policy, he doesn't appear to know anything about a policy. He'll just change the subject. He'll start talking about what somebody did to him, or somebody called him a bad name, and he's been calling people names for the last 8 years. I think that. But
let's ask you. Let me ask you. Yes. Generally speaking, is Trump for higher taxes or lower taxes?
I think he's for lowering taxes on the rich. I think he lowered
your taxes.
Pardon me?
He lowered your taxes.
I'm not rich.
That's all right. You don't have to be. He lowered your taxes. When you filed your taxes last year, did you take the standard deduction?
No.
You itemized?
Yes, I always itemize.
All right. Well, for the 90% of or 87% of the country that takes the standard deduction, every single one of them, the deduction got doubled. They all got a tax cut. So everyone that's beneath you, as a self-employed business owner, everyone that's just a common cashier working fast food or whatever, they all got a tax cut. You may or you may not have. If you did a whole lot better than you did 4 years ago, you probably didn't. But if you did the exact same you did, your tax rates went down. All those brackets went down.
But the issue is he's not.
Now, hang on. Let's stay on subject here. I'm trying to demonstrate to you that you actually do know his policy positions. He is for lower taxes. Is he for price controls?
But is he
for price controls? Just go through the exercise with me. I'm trying to make a point here. Is he for price controls?
Come on. He's not. He doesn't know what's going on. You know that.
Is he for price? He's not going to answer, is he?
He's not for anything. He's for.
You know what he's for. You just don't want other people to vote for him. Johnson in Fort Worth, you're next up on WBAP. What do you think, Johnson?
Hey, James, I really just wanted to make a comment regarding the pastor that called a little while ago. First, I respect that, his tone of voice, and you can definitely tell he's a critical thinker and tries to think through the issues. But when he goes to the ballot box, and we've heard this from a couple of your callers, and I hear this all the time in my circles, they vote their moral compass, and those same people that vote their moral compass talk about hypocrisy. Well, that is hypocrisy all in itself when you're judging someone based on their moral compass at the ballot box. I mean, the Bible's clear on that, number one. And number two, we hear this separation of church and state all the time, but when we talk about politics and we go make our voices heard at the ballot box, we don't separate the church from the statesman. Our moral standard that we hold on people, we don't separate that from our.
I like the tack you're taking here because the angle it looks like you're looking at is I would just add to that. Usually when someone comes in and they try and separate you from the person you want to vote for based on morals, it's not because they think you should vote based on your morals. It's because they don't want you voting for the guy that they oppose. You know, and if the morals are your driving force, hello, we have a president who hasn't met his 5-year-old granddaughter yet, who tried to deny paternity, who tried to end the settlement, say, yes, we will actually support the daughter that we created with you, the granddaughter that we created you, as long as her last name's not going to be Biden, because we can't have you sullying our franchise. The people who are worried about morals, you're not worried about taking showers with your teenage daughter or getting $27 million from the Chinese and the Ukrainians and the Russians. You're not worried about any of the other just myriad of shady stuff that all these other people have been involved in. And it doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't. Thank God it didn't matter that Ben Franklin went to whorehouses and he cheated on his wife and he had an illegitimate son with a prostitute. Thank God we were more mature than that and not trying to be namby-pamby. Well, I don't know if we should try this whole individual rights thing because Ben Franklin's weird. No, let's get rid of all this ad hominem judging the human being. Let's judge the policies and leave it at that. Because if you did want to judge the human beings, then y'all would have all voted for Mitt Romney, and you didn't. So don't give me that. Oh, he's just immoral. I don't understand how Christians can support such an immoral person. Stop. It's very sad. It's very transparently base, and it's immature, and I'm tired of it.
No, that's exactly right. And I tell you, one of the things I tell my daughter is we're not going to have Thanksgiving dinner with Donald Trump. You know, we're not going to have Thanksgiving dinner and Kamala Harris at our Christmas party. We're not voting on them based on their moral compass. I, as the father of our household and as a Christian man, I teach my family and my kids what morals we should hold on to based on God's word. Not because someone's in the White House. I want someone in the White House who's going to implement the policies that we hold true and dear as Americans and as patriots. And I'm so sick of people trying to vote their conscience based on their moral standards, and at the same time, it's hypocrisy because the very pastor that called a while ago, under his standards, he couldn't vote for King David to be president.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, because he was also someone who cheated on his wife and had an illegitimate son. And good points. Good points.
Exactly right.
All good points. In fact, how many of God's favorite people, and especially in the Old Testament, are flawed to all get out? I mean, including Paul in the New Testament. But Gideon was an idiot. He's had a stutter or whatever. David cheated. Solomon cheated. Saul was an egotistical butthead. All good points. Out of time, though. 800-288-9227. We'll continue this discussion next. And if y'all can lay low for a second, I'll play you some audio highlights from last night's DNC on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. The second expedition to reach the South Pole, on their way back, they got stopped by blizzards so many times that they were going to run out of food, and they knew it. So they all wrote letters so whenever someone found their bodies, they could leave a note to their loved ones. I don't know if you heard the traffic report, but if you're on LBJ right now, you should probably do the same thing. You should start writing the letter so when they find your body, you can have some last I love yous to your loved ones. Oh, my goodness. Because I just looked at the map when I heard the traffic report. That is the worst traffic I may have ever seen on LBJ, and that is a bold statement. One of the great highlights from last night that's getting passed around, it's not really important. It's not really consequential, but it's AOC affecting this accent. And okay, I know it gets on your nerves and it's kind of annoying to see him, be so theatrical and be so fake, but it's kind of funny. And I don't think it helps the cause very much. But if you haven't heard it, this is one of the things being passed around.
Of hearing about how a two-bit union buster thinks of himself as more of a patriot than the woman who fights every single day to lift working people out from under the boots of greed, trampling on our way of life.
I don't even know what accent that is. That was kind of like the Colin Kaepernick when he developed an accent for his Netflix series. Because when he was quarterback at University of Nevada, and then even the beginning of his 49ers career, Colin Kaepernick in press conferences was like, well, I just hope I can give 110% for the team and, live up to everyone's expectations and not let the San Francisco fans down. I just want to bring them home a championship. And then when he did the Netflix special, he was like, the NFL is a plantation where they colonize and exploit and eulogize or whatever he was saying. It's kind of, it feels like that. To the phones we go. This is Tracy in Fort Worth. You're next up on WBAP. What do you think, Tracy?
Well, I just had a question because on the abortion side, so apparently they've got an Unborn Victims of Violence Act where basically if I go in and rob a store, I shoot a pregnant mother, kill her and the fetus, I'm charged with double murder. Explain to me how I get charged with double murder for doing that if they're trying to say that a fetus isn't actually a person, so there's not a problem with abortion. It's kind of like a double standard.
Yes, it is a double standard. Congratulations.
Well, it just makes no sense.
Agreed.
You're gonna enact a law where you're gonna get charged for it, which I believe you should. But then again, you're gonna turn around and say, well, you want to do it yourself, go ahead. We won't charge you. And I'm not saying that there's no.
See, Tracy, the problem. I'm glad you called, because whenever this comes up, it always goes off on a fork I don't want it to go on, and this is why a lot of talk show hosts don't like to bring up abortion at all. And I would just like to keep bringing it up until I get good enough at it that it's actually doesn't frustrate me so much. The point of the abortion topic to begin with is I was showing you a protester that was outside the DNC yesterday who was telling you, not directly but indirectly telling you, as long as the Republican Party or their candidate or whatever doesn't support abortion, she will always vote Democrat. Now, the point is, how do you convince her? Your argument's not going to convince her. You're trying, you're trying to make the case that all abortion should be illegal. I could just as easily, I don't say just as easily.
Well, I don't think it should all be illegal. And your previous callers, obviously, they're watching CNN and all that, where they do the snippets of Trump, so they're not hearing everything he talks about. And I was watching the other night, and he even brought up he's not against all abortion. There's specific times for that, but at the point of where you're delivering the baby and you say, no, I don't want it, let's just throw it in the trash. No, I don't agree with that.
All right, I think we're back on the same page. I appreciate you calling. I'm out of time, so thank you very much. Tracy in Fort Worth. Look, I think, pragmatically speaking, Republicans, you need to find a way to win those voters over, because there's like 1 million women, and I think the number really is somewhere around like 600,000, 800,000, 1 million. It's hard to nail it down, but abortions per year. And every time a woman gets an abortion, you're basically making a Democrat voter for life. And if not for that issue, what would all these ladies base their vote on? Thank you, Garrett. 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. Green Day's tour is coming to Globe Life Field September 11th. Smashing Pumpkins at Rancid and the Lindas are going to be with them. You can get tickets at Ticketmaster.com, or if you want a chance to win a pair of tickets, text GREEN to our same phone number that I've been giving out all day, 800-288-9227. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome back to the big show. I know, good to see you too. I appreciate your enthusiasm. Well, the DNC kicked off yesterday, continues tonight. I was playing you some highlights earlier in the show. I'll be playing you some again after my next guest. Victoria Churchill's back on. She's been hanging out with the New York Post and their swing state team. And from someone who is watching this for a living right now, what did you think of day one of the DNC, Victoria?
Well, look, I think the contrast between the Republican and the Democrat Party is loud and clear with what we've been seeing from the DNC. On one hand, they tell us they don't want a wall on our southern border, and then the threat of pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel protesters was so large that they erected a wall outside of their own convention to keep themselves safe from, people in their state. That were activists that are allegedly supposed to be on their side. They're so scared of them, they put up a wall to block them from accessing the convention.
Well, look, that's a fun piece of hypocrisy. Listen, but this is something that happens in every cycle. So I would just like to be fair here. Something that happened at the RNC that was kind of an eye roll. It's like, Republicans believe in guns, but they made their convention a gun-free zone. So they don't want to stand up on their principles. It just shows the hypocrisy right there. And these little events are not the same as like a national public policy. And while what you're pointing out is a cute little piece of irony, it's just sort of superficial.
Well, I think, again, as you pointed out, it is ironic. And I actually talked to some folks about the gun-free zones at the RNC, and actually gun owners in the state actually fought back against some of the local electeds in Milwaukee specifically who wanted to actually expand the gun-free perimeter outside of the direct neighborhoods of the RNC, and actually gun owners in that state actually fought back and were like, no, actually we believe guns in the right hands make our community safer. And so even though they won't be able to be brought, they weren't at the time of the RNC being able to be brought in within the perimeter.
Well, sure. And look, they're also they put up a wall to ensure security and to control the flow of humanity across their border. And then they also check for IDs to make sure that people who weren't supposed to be in there weren't in there. So there's a couple of funny pieces of irony. But you know what? I'm far more concerned about the price controls. I'm more concerned about the bread lines. I'm more concerned about them putting in place policies that'll make us have to break into the Fort Worth Zoo and eat a wildebeest.
Well, you're completely right. There was a line that we were using at the Post this weekend that was, Kamala Harris's campaign had more pronouns than policies on their website. And I think they really still do. They're really unveiling their policy agenda at the DNC. One of the other little bits of irony was that their policy platform was approved with at least 5 mentions of Biden's second term.
Oh, man. I forgot to mention that the whole show. Here I am in the 3rd hour of the show. Yeah, they finally released the platform, and whoever copied and pasted from Biden's team left, in Biden's second term. It was in there 5 times. So, and look, the important part of that, Victoria, isn't the fact that, some intern boo-booed and their copy and paste cleanup. It's the fact that there isn't really a platform from Kamala Harris. She is just the latest hand to go into the inside of the sock puppet that is being controlled by someone else.
Oh, I mean, you're absolutely right on that. And look, the Republicans have been trying to paint this as Biden's second term. They're trying to tie Kamala Harris as much as they can to, what they perceive to be the failures of the Biden administration. And, what better way to do that when the DNC parrots the own Republican and conservative talking points saying she doesn't have her own original ideas. She just does whatever the party hands her. This platform was literally handed to her by the party to the point that they did not even bother editing it.
Right. So
fix these glaring mistakes.
Right. So the criticism that this would just be Biden's second term, there's no way you can argue against that now. You literally copied and pasted the platform.
Absolutely. You're 100% right on that.
Love it. All right. Well, as someone who's watching swing states for the New York Post, the polls, they got a little bit of a goose when Kamala became the presumed nominee, a little bit of a boost when Walz was named as her running mate. Are we getting a little bit of a boost from the convention?
Well, again, and I think I've mentioned this on your show before, the Trump campaign predicted this. Everybody in the mainstream media is going to have all eyes on Kamala Harris. And actually in the swing states is where Trump and Vance are this week. I was in Philadelphia the other day when Vance was up there Monday morning. Trump was in Pennsylvania and Wilkes-Barre over the weekend, as well as York yesterday. They're going to be in North Carolina, both of them, tomorrow, where I'll be covering them as well. And some of my other colleagues across the country are going to be covering them in, Arizona, Nevada. So the Trump team, Trump and Vance, and actually some of his allies and surrogates are speaking in locations like actually Chicago. They're taking their message, which is actually full of policy, unlike the Harris message has been since she got the nomination. They are taking it to these swing states while the Democrats are just talking to the media at the DNC.
Well, it's also, when you said more pronouns than policy in her platform, when she came out with part of her platform and it was price controls and communism, people were like, hey, you want to just tell me more about them pronouns for a minute? I was liking that conversation a little bit better than this economic stuff.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I was actually fortunate enough to be one of 3 co-authors on our front page story on Saturday, where, I was kind of covering it live from the rally in Raleigh last week where she announced the plan, and a couple of my colleagues talked to leading economists from kind of all breadths of conservative politics. Some were libertarian, some more kind of hardcore conservative, some more even nationalist conservative. And nobody who has any real understanding of economic policy likes anything about these Kamala Harris proposals. Our headline on Saturday was actually, communism spelled with a K as Kamala Harris's name and a picture of her on the front page. You know, that was our cover story.
I saw that, yeah, KAM, communism. That was good stuff.
Exactly.
All right, well, thank you very much.
The headline there was a $1.7 trillion economic plan that includes government price control, so absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, no, she said on the campaign trail yesterday, that'll all pay for itself. Your return on investment, sure it will. All right, Victoria Churchill, find her work at the New York Post. Thank you very much, Victoria.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
That's cool. She's actually on the road, following them around, going to a bunch of events. That's got to be a cool job. If you got any comments, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm going to play you, finally, the comments from local representative Jasmine Crockett next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. You heard it here first. Jasmine Crockett is a rising star, and we may look back in 10 years and think Jasmine Crockett who, or we may be looking back in just like 4 to 8 years and seeing Jasmine Crockett either in the Senate or maybe even higher than that, because she's got a lot. Number one, she is from a very important state, and she is from what is now the 4th biggest metropolitan area in the United States. Yes, DFW is growing that much. Seriously, I don't know if you understand just the weight that DFW carries around now. There's a bookshelf in the hallway here at WBAP with some of the old knickknacks on it, and one of them looks like it was printed by Howdy Doody. It's so old, and it says WBAP in Fort Worth, the nation's 12th biggest market. We're up to number 4 now. So New York's number 1, Los Angeles number 2, Chicago 3. We're 4. We just passed San Francisco and Oakland. Houston's right behind us. And that puts her and everyone associated with us, nationally speaking, on the next level up. We're in the biggest market in the 2nd most populous state. But on top of that, she is in a very safe blue seat in a red state. So as long as she does a good job and can stay on the right side of public opinion and really public relations, she's going to stay in that seat as long as she wants. She may be in there for the next 30 years. Here's a few other things she has going for her. Number one, she's beautiful. I know that shouldn't matter. I know it's shallow. I know this is politics, and the only thing that matters is the platform and the policies they choose. Well, I'm glad you think the world works that way. But you'll notice we haven't had, have we had an obese person be president since Howard Taft? Since we've had television? Absolutely not. I mean, Trump's a little overweight, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about obese. No, looks matter. We hadn't even had a bald president since Eisenhower. That's how much looks matter. It's silly, right? When was the last time we had a president with a beard? Think about it. Just Garrett. Who was the last president we had with a beard? Yeah, I don't know. Of course you weren't alive. Dude, you got to go back to like the 1800s. It's Ulysses S. Grant or something. I know Roosevelt had a mustache. Roosevelt had a mustache. Taft had a mustache. I don't think we've even had a mustache since Taft, have we? We hadn't had a mustache on a dude's face in 100 years. And if we were rolling the dice and looks didn't matter, that wouldn't be the case. So look, her looks do matter. She's a good speaker, and not just in the fact that she can deliver a speech. She has just a good natural voice. You can't practice that. She has good voice tone. Unlike Hillary Clinton with her nasty Illinois accent, she's like, dar, 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 dar. Yeah, that's kind of, that's very grating. It's kind of one of the things that didn't help Sarah Palin so much. Because she was that old folksy, don't you know? It's like, we don't talk like that. You sound like a children's TV character or something. But not Jasmine Crockett. I've seen her do speeches before. I've seen her talk off the cuff. She's got a brain behind it too. What catapulted her to stardom, probably the reason she was on the stage last night, is her little tussle that she got in with Marjorie Taylor Greene, the representative from Georgia. There's just some hearing where Marjorie Taylor Greene popped off about her eyelashes, and that set off a chain reaction. That we had some fun with this on the James Show. This was just in May. I know this seems like ancient history. This is what, 3 months ago. So I'm going to play you a couple pieces from that because I know you probably heard it, but there's probably some people who didn't. You'll hear Marjorie Taylor Greene, you'll hear Jasmine Crockett, and you'll hear AOC jump in there as well.
Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about.
That's Jasmine.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about. I
think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you
you.
please regain order of your committee?
Order.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Green's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you attack the physical appearance of another person?
Are your feelings hurt?
Her words down.
Aw.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play.
Baby girl? I don't think
we are going to move, and we're
I love it when AOC does the fake street accent, like she's not from a rich subdivision in Westchester Hills. Like she didn't go to private school and her dad's not a rich architect firm owner or whatever. But Jasmine Crockett's the real deal. Jasmine Crockett doesn't have to affect a regular person layman accent. She talks just like the rest of us. Now, here's what I like about Jasmine Crockett. Even though politically speaking, she's on the other side and she's on Team Blue and I'm kind of Team Red, and on our policy platforms, we probably wouldn't overlap a whole lot. But I got respect for someone who can just off the cuff. She didn't pre-write this. She didn't come in there knowing that Marjorie Taylor Greene was going to start throwing some insults at her appearance. She just came up with one back. And look, it's a facade that, I'm just testing what the rules are. But this alliteration, this stuff counts. In the court of public opinion, being witty in public, being able to handle yourself and being funny about it counts.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
All right, so that's a good snap. Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Perfect alliteration. She did it quick. She didn't have a whole lot of time to think about it. Thinking off the cuff. She's no idiot. She's a smart little cookie. She's got a future. You got that brain. You got those looks. You've got this geography. You've got that seat. You've got this attention now at the DNC, and you did so well with it. And I wanted to play you that background so when you heard her clip from last night, she knows what she's doing, and she's smart to do it. She's building on that alliteration. Stuff like this. When you have a brand like this already, and you've only been a known entity for 3 months, you're doing very well for a freshman congressman. Freshman congressmen, almost none of them get as much attention as she has, and for the right reasons. And so this was a clip from her last night, building on that brand.
The question before us is, will a vindictive, vile villain violate voters' vision for a better America or not? I hear alliterations are back in style.
See, she's even like kind of self-deprecating there. All right. Hey, Garrett, I got an email back from Chloe. I think she's going to be on our show Friday. I'll confirm after the show, but they said maybe Friday, and I offered him 205 or 305. So I know, wouldn't it be great? I would love to have her on. Watch Rising. I know you don't like her politics. I don't either, but watch, she's a rising star, and rightfully so. 800-288-9227 if you want to jump in the conversation. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, I want to tell you about this lawsuit against Dallas ISD because they were punishing students who weren't following the mask mandate after the mask mandate had been lifted, and the Governor Abbott said, well, here's all the exceptions and whatnot if you are going to continue with it. And they didn't follow the rules. So now they're being sued. I think you'll like this story coming up in 6 minutes on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.